Many people commonly misunderstand Travis Scott's Days Before Rodeo, taking it as just another trap album of random songs that got his name in mainstream media. Yet in reality, this is one of Travis's deepest stories that not only introduces us to his struggle with addiction and fame, but acts as the first major stepping stone in one of the best rap discographies ever made. And in today's video, we're going to be covering and dissecting every crucial detail that not only makes this mixtape perfect, but demonstrates exactly why Days Before Rodeo became the blueprint for Travis Scott's sound, aesthetic, and legacy. The prayer opens up with Travis being violently awoken at midnight. Now, this is a very interesting way for Travis to open the album because it's an ongoing symbol throughout his whole discography, where Travis is in this sleep state, where in this state he has a sense of comfort and almost disregards any goals he's set up for himself. However, when Travis is awoken from that sleep state, he's sent into this feeling of shock and realization, and pretty much snaps back into reality, leading him to not only reflect on his life, but also how his career is going. He says how he's been taking drunk laps running around the globe, meaning how he's been chasing his career and trying to get it started, but is frequently using drugs and alcohol, which is hindering him from putting his full focus onto his career. Travis then says he's on a wild goose chase, which literally means trying to obtain something unobtainable, as Travis right now believes that his career is this far away thing and he is ultimately too scared to reach for it and to pursue it. We then see this again as Travis states how he's impatient that his career is not taking off, and because of this continues to use drugs. Now this is very important as it shows Travis's initial viewpoint on making it big, where he has drive and dedication, but he's more comfortable in his current lifestyle as it's pretty much all he knows so far. So we pretty much can assume that Travis is afraid to take that leap. Yet, right when we do, he completely flips the switch in the song and says,
"Man, I might fuck around, lose my mind. I gotta break out. I'm on a stakeout, on the farm or your lake house."
Now, in these lines that we see repeat throughout the song, we see Travis is very frustrated, and it kind of ties back to the first original feeling of hyperventilation that he first felt when he woke up, as he feels like he's almost drowning and gasping for air, as he knows what he wants to do, but there's something stopping him from doing it. And the fact that he does not know what that thing is only frustrates him more. So we see Travis does have some sense of motivation and drive, and we get the sense that he almost wants to find that thing that's stopping him. Yet, right when we do, what does Travis do?
Around 3 a.m. dog, I was getting busy in the bathroom stall. Bad Mamacita, Miami heater, put in a 2-seater, too bad I couldn't 3-peat her.
So yeah, right when we get a sense that Travis is becoming motivated and is definitely going to launch his career, he goes and he has sex with a girl. Now, this is the first example of Travis choosing an immature act over pursuing his career, which right now is very reflectant of how his life is, as he's surrounded by all these immature things that are presented throughout the track list. Now, what are these things and what do they do? Well, the acts and things are all examples of Travis's immaturity. They all are meant to act as things that hinder Travis from getting his goal, or, in other words, beginning the rodeo that is set to come. Now this is interesting because we see Travis is now vulnerable to falling into temptation. But right now he does not know that these things are hindering him, which is why he's so frustrated. And one of Travis's biggest immaturities, as we see throughout the start of the album and in this song, is sex, as he chooses it over chasing the vision that he had. We also see how Travis doesn't go back to the idea of the revolution after he has sex. He just kind of leaves it to be, which this is why Travis believes sex right now is not only a helpful thing for him, but can protect him from the visions he's having, which then leaves him to believe that he desperately needs a
Mamacita, Sita, Sita.
We start out Mamacita with Travis stating how it's the last days to the rodeo, as he's flat out stating that there's this time ticking, and almost a continuous build-up that all keeps leading back to this idea that he needs to take this journey. Travis then reflects on what happened the night before, and as he begins to think about it more and more, he states how he doesn't think pills could help him, because in this scenario, he's not really focused as much on drugs, but more sex and women, because he thinks love, or his sense of love, can be stronger than those drugs and can have the ability to save him and heal the pain that these visions are bringing. Which is why throughout the song he continuously says,
Mamacita, Sita, Sita, you know I really need ya right now.
Travis also for the first time in this song mentions, now I know this sounds really weird, but this is a big theme throughout all of Travis's albums, where it really is supposed to symbolize immaturity, and in this song more than all, is supposed to symbolize Travis's relation and feelings towards women, as he only really desires this feeling of sex and love when he wants it, and only uses it to escape from his stressful problems. So we know why Travis wants a girl around him, and we know what his plans are with that girl, but who is this girl that Travis wants so much, and why is she so important? So before we dive into who this girl is and how Travis met her, it's important to note that Quintana Part 2 has 3 versions. The first version is the original version. Now, on this version we have T.I.'s verse, which we'll analyze and discuss in a second. But we also have a second version that is exclusive to the Days Before Rodeo vinyl release, in which T.I.'s verse is replaced with a heavenly Mike Dean outro, which if you ever listen to any Mike Dean outros, you know how truly spectacular they can be, especially when Travis is on it. I mean, it's just... The third and arguably the most important version is the streaming version. And instead of a Mike Dean outro or T.I.'s verse, it's now replaced with Travis's verse, where in this verse he talks about the girl and he kind of gives some context. But before we dive into that and gain some context, let's talk about the first version with T.I.'s verse. So it comes after the main chorus of the song, and it's important to note that this chorus keeps talking about how Travis is making money, as he is doing it through violent things like robbing and stealing people's drugs, and then also using those drugs as a form of profit. Which one of the reasons why he's doing this is he feels a pressure from the team around him in this group of people that he's now a part of in his neighborhood that are all pressuring him into doing these things. But then we see how T.I. comes in, and it's interesting because he kind of comes in as a mentor to Travis. And throughout all this violence and constant stealing and robbing of Travis's lifestyle, T.I. kind of comes in and he reminds Travis of what he's been feeling. And he says how, although he kind of encourages Travis's lifestyle at the time, he sees Travis's dreams and he knows that he's going to be great. And he knows Travis can do big things if he really puts his mind to it. Yet since Travis is so wrapped up in this lifestyle, he keeps continuing to fall into this trap of doing things that are hindering him from his goal. Now, why I say the streaming version is so much more important is because it's really the first time that we not only get context partly on who this girl is, but we also see Travis's relationship with her and how it is more of a one-sided affair in the aspect of love. In the streaming version, when talking about the girl, Travis says,
Tell me why she wanna leave me. She used me to get high. Oh, she used me to get higher, higher, higher. So tell me why she wanna leave me.
So as we witness this story about Travis and this girl who kind of built their love around drugs, we see how Travis, he doesn't really need the girl, but at the same time he keeps going back and giving her the drugs because that's really all the girl wants in this relationship. But Travis wants something else, and he wants something that the girl has, which is love. And not just love, but love for him. But because the girl doesn't feel the same way and only wants the relationship for the drugs, we see this first drug-built relationship commence, and the power it holds over Travis, where he only wants love, but he will do bad things for it. So then when the girl leaves him because he doesn't have drugs, Travis then desires to keep stealing, not because he wants the drugs or he feels like he needs to steal, but he feels like he needs someone to love him. But then we see how this love is making Travis fall back into the trap of not chasing his goals. So throughout the last two songs, we've seen Travis's love for this girl, and we've seen how powerful it truly can be. But I'm sure you're still confused on who this girl is, and is she evil? Why is she important? And what's her significance? And how did Travis even meet her? But to answer that, we have to go back to not only the first time they met, but the first time Travis tried drugs.
Try if it feels right. This feels nice. I've been down and lost for days. Glad I found you on the way. When the day gets better, the night gets better. I always feel this way. Through the hills, I hear you calling, miles and miles
Now, before we start the breakdown, we need to answer this question on who this girl is. This is Maria. Now, she's a very important symbol and person throughout not only this album, but also Rodeo. Now, in this song, we're going to see how Travis and Maria build their relationship, and how this relationship is not only so important in this album, but also Rodeo, as there's two direct lines that tie together between the two albums, which we'll see once we reach the chorus. Now, a lot of people think that Drugs You Should Try is about Travis's first time trying drugs, which technically it is, but at the same time it's not. So we open the song with this intro, and at first it seems like Travis is pretty much just saying gibberish, or humming, or something like that. But it's actually so much more important, and we'll see why in a second here. But first, we have to talk about the time of day. So throughout the song, Travis uses night, which in most literature symbolizes darkness, or bad things, or the color black. Yet he also uses daytime, which commonly symbolizes light, or awareness, or the color white. And we've seen the night symbol before, where Travis had sex with a girl and did something bad at night. And this is very, very similar. As Travis says how, when the days get brighter, the night gets nighter. Meaning how this symbol of night is taking away all of these scary things that happen when Travis is awake, or in the daytime is sober, like we saw in the prayer. As it also is trying to symbolize how, as Travis is getting closer to this journey in the daytime, the nights are getting harder and harder, making him fall into the immature acts. Which also then ties back to the idea that Travis is scared to take the leap again, because if he does, he fears that the nights will get so bad that he won't be able to make it through, even with the drugs and things that he's done. But now let's get back to the idea of Travis trying these drugs for the first time. So pretty much in the song, one night he meets Maria at his house. He leads Maria into his house and he sees a table full of drugs. It's important to note here that Travis is the innocent one. Maria is the one almost pressuring him into doing these drugs, because Travis only has supplied the drugs through his stealing and robbing that he does with his team, but he's really only supplying him because he wants to build a relationship with this girl Maria. So then Travis does the drugs and he falls in love with Maria. And I mean like falls in love. Like they instantly become a couple after this. Yet although they're a couple, they're really only meeting up at night to do drugs. But Travis really just falls for this girl. Yet Travis even says that him and the girl both have options in love, but that's really not true, because as we saw in Quintana Part 2, is really only using him for drugs. And we see the first thing Maria actually symbolizes, which is just an actual person named Maria that Travis just fell in love with through his drug use. So time passes and they still are a couple. And Travis just keeps falling for this girl. He's truly in love. And he even says how he can't be alone at this point. He needs her to survive. But then we see how in Quintana Part 2, they're not together anymore. But now we're caught up. We know the context. We know the relationship with the girl. Which brings us to the outro of the song, which is really the most important part of the song, because it's saying, from someone's point of view, how they think someone else is ready to take the night away, or do drugs. And it sounds like they're almost convincing this person, and pressuring them into doing it. Because now, in the end of the song, the roles are reversed. Because now Travis needs Maria, instead of the other way around. So Travis invites Maria over with the temptation of drugs in hopes that she can heal his pain and heal the problems he's having. But it even goes further than this, because that intro where Travis seemed to be talking in gibberish and humming was actually this outro in reverse. As to start out the song, Travis is the one being pressured into drugs. But as we see him develop through drugs and through this false sense of love, we see how Travis does the same thing back to Maria at the end of the song. And this is really important because it's the first time we see Travis use drugs in an attempt to rebuild his first love. And like the intro and outro, almost reverses the relationship. And we'll see throughout this album and Rodeo how this one relationship shapes Travis's viewpoint towards not only drugs but love. We also see this comparison of Travis trying drugs for the first time and then needing the girl in the chorus. As Travis says, he's tried it and it feels nice. And then bringing back to current times, he's been down and lost for days and is glad that he is able to find Maria because he believes that she can ease his pain. Which is also why he says, through the hills he can hear her calling miles and miles away, which will be really important once we get to Maria I'm Drunk in Rodeo. So we've seen one of the biggest things that is hindering Travis and why it's hindering him for the past couple of songs now. And we've seen how Travis pretty much can't live without it. And it's the only thing that he thinks in his mind that's protecting him from this inevitable rodeo that's set to come. But what if someone were to take that thing away? Don't Play starts out with a sample from 1975's Money. Now, this is a very important sample because it almost summarizes how Travis will feel throughout this song and his current state of being in terms of his money, his relationship, and his drive. The sample says, as it's trying to allude to Travis's relationship with drugs right now, and how he uses the money he has and the money he gets from stealing drugs and selling them off to only go and buy more drugs. The sample then says, meaning how Travis still knows this revolution is coming and he's questioning whether or not to leave, but he doesn't like it when the girls go or when his relationship with Maria is sacrificed for accomplishing his goals, which then leads him to again question what he should spend his money on, and also gives us a clear view that Travis doesn't play around with his money, which we see him repeatedly say in the chorus. And also as this chorus repeats, we see how truly important all this stuff Travis is spending his money on, as right now Travis is choosing what he values most. Yet in the first verse we see something very interesting, as Maria is apparently on board with Travis's journey, as Travis says how she was down when I dropped out of college, down she was down when I rode in college. Which at first it seems like we're getting a total shock value with Maria, as it seems like she's almost caring for Travis and wants him to succeed in life. But from what we know so far of her, this seems very unusual. This is because although it seems like she's caring for Travis and wanting him to succeed, she's really only doing it because she really only wants him for his money and drugs. And while Travis is again still focused on this love, he's blind to seeing this, which is only driving him down further into this rabbit hole of fake love and deception. Travis then ends his verse with saying, Travis saying this allows him to once again bring back the idea of the revolution. Yet this time, it's very interesting because it's the first time he doesn't really say anything and do anything to go back on it. Yet in the music video, the song ends with Travis leaving off with Maria and rescuing her from the robbers that tried to play Travis, and then ultimately saw what happened when they did. And this is really important because it seemed like Travis was finally gaining some sense of maturity. But right when we saw that again, he went back to Maria because he was so blinded by this love. But what happens when this love runs out? What happens when Travis loses focus on this love? And what happens when Travis realizes he's being used? first thing we can notice about Skyfall is the title of the song is very similar to one of Travis's inspirations, Kid Cudi's song Sky Might Fall from his debut album. And it's interesting Travis chose this title because we see how in Sky Might Fall, Kid Cudi talks about the sky falling, but him not worrying about it. And again, almost like the sample of Don't Play, this is kind of summarizing this song, as it's really one of the biggest and most important shifts in the album, where Travis begins to shift his view on his drive and will to achieve this goal. So in this song, we see Travis walking down the street, and we've seen how his life has been kind of engulfed by these drugs and this X-rated love. And he begins to talk about it, and he says how the sky keeps on falling and the drugs keep on calling, as Travis is making a direct callback to the night symbol that he once talked about earlier, where in his life right now, his drug usage keeps happening no matter what he does. And him saying how when the sky keeps on falling or the day is turning to night, he again falls into the temptation of drugs because he is again still scared of this journey and this rodeo that's coming. We see this again as Travis says how the drugs keep picking up for him, and he even says how they love him. And it's interesting here because Travis is alluding to the fact that these drugs have such a hold over his life, but he also is alluding to the love he's created with Maria through the drugs, and is also kind of foreshadowing what's coming in the Rodeo album. When you think about it too, it's also a weird thing to say that the drugs love him, because the drugs are not like an actual real thing that can show love, because Travis is kind of putting in the idea again of it being a one-sided love where he really is the only one supplying love. But then we get the first shift of the album, and this is probably one of, if not the most important part of the album, as Travis flat out states, so this statement is used as a refrain throughout the song, and it's very important as it presents the first shift of the album, where Travis realizes this state of heavy drug use mixed with false love will not actually ease his pain or get him high anymore. And initially Travis panics at this news, but he'll ultimately find it as the reason he is being held back, and find it as the thing that he was trying to discover in the prayer that he needed to break through from if he wants to ensure that these days before the rodeo will end. Travis then asks, "Where's the love if you love me?" Meaning, where's the actual traditional love if Maria only loves him for his drugs? As Travis is now questioning this X-rated / false love that has taken hold of his life. Travis then ends the song with a refrain that says, "All this pain, but I'm trying to disguise." As due to his surrounding lifestyle, Travis is disguising his real emotions and real desires to break free from this lifestyle, and due to the people around him, is struggling through silence, which we'll see in Rodeo. Yet since Travis is trapped in this lifestyle, he is ultimately building a desire towards something greater, as the only thing that could save Travis now and break him free is a revolution of lost souls.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, kids sing.
Similar to Skyfall, we start out Zombies with Travis connecting again with one of his biggest inspirations, Kanye. And he does this by telling a group of kids that he's seeing to sing. Now, the term kid is interesting because although Travis, who at the time himself is pretty young, like most of his audience, the term kids is more of a symbol of natural youth. like the idea and the dream to go to the moon, the dream to be a firefighter, the dream to make dinosaurs. Travis is referencing the natural drive of the youth to discard and rebel against anything that goes against their goals, no matter how big their goals are. So as Travis orders these kids who are just going through their metamorphosis of not only life, but also their goals, he shouts at them, and they shout back, saying how, which means the kids and Travis will understand if the higher-ups or people controlling their life don't understand their goals and aspirations to reach those goals, but will ultimately not care and do anything it takes to do what they dream. So before we go any further, we should talk about a little history on Travis. He grew up in Houston, Texas, and he always knew he was talented in music. But his parents desired a more traditional lifestyle and job for him, which Travis will explore in Rodeo, as he always knew he could fly and succeed, but his parents held him back, as they did not see the same way. In this album, we also see this as the things Travis does daily, like the way he makes his money and his relations with drugs and women, both make his parents constantly question and disapprove of him and his idea of making it as a rapper, which is another reason why his lifestyle is holding him back. So now that Travis is becoming self-aware of what he needs to do and is envisioning this revolution and group of people that all want to reach the same goal as him and rebel against their higher-up powers, he realizes that he really needs to save his money and keep his money for achieving his goal. As he says how are we going to get Oscar proud if they pay us pennies? And how he needs his dollars now. And he also says how the kids, they need that too. As in his fame, he'll still remember the revolution that ultimately saved him and broke him through from this lifestyle. Travis then says,
You know, when I was 14, I wanted to do a lot of kick-ass shit.
Travis saying this shows how he's trying to connect with the youth and inspire them to never give up on their ambition. And we see how Travis is starting to build a vision and actually making this goal that seems so far away a reality. And he continuously is thinking about it more and more. Yet right when he does, he says,
Pornographic, so dramatic, cinematic, diamond flashes, so Jurassic, dress so classic.
Travis saying this allows for him to allude again to the sense of immaturity that he had before. Travis then states that again he gets money, technically, but is not using it to pursue his goals and spends it on the wrong things. For example, he says, that girl don't need a wedding ring, she need a bean. As he rather, as his immature self, buy a girl drugs to satisfy this crazy X-rated drug love that he's had, rather than pursuing his goals. Yet we still see Travis fighting back against this temptation, as he says he can't achieve his goals alone, and he needs the people of the revolution and the kids to sing, as he knows that he'll ultimately make something great, and he knows that this revolution and this group of kids can save him. So throughout the song, we've seen Travis's vision and his drive start to form, yet we see how he's still tied down from this lifestyle. But ultimately, in the last two songs, he's kind of shifted his drive and is beginning to mature. But what is the biggest thing that could hinder Travis's maturity? And what could kill his drive most? Sloppy Toppy starts out with a very important sample from Edna Wright's Spend the Night with Me. And in the sample, it says, "Darling, when the moon is bright, I want you to hold me tight." And this is a direct callback to the pain Travis feels in the night and how his crazy drug love eases that pain. And although he's now conscious of his dreams, he's still rejecting the idea of pushing towards that revolution. Yet it's very interesting because now, as we see in the song, he's really only doing this because he's surrounded by people. And the Migos act as a very important factor in the song as they really are there to represent not only the immature things that Travis keeps doing, but the reason he's doing it is because the people around him are tempting him to do it. And it's interesting, in one of Travis' verses, he says, "Call your friends over," which is a very iconic line throughout one of the biggest songs on Rodeo. And in that song, Travis's lifestyle is pressuring him to commit immature acts again. So Travis almost relapsing to this state of heavy drug use, a lot of sex, and violent acts through his peers allows him to almost come to another realization that he doesn't just need to escape himself doing these things, but he needs to escape the temptation of doing these things. And the only way he can do that is to leave his town.
Yeah.
Basement Freestyle starts with a very important verse from Travis, and it kind of sums up what we just saw in Sloppy Toppy, where Travis is now in a bar, and he's surrounded by women, and he keeps continuing to party. But then we kind of get sucked out of that image, and through the chorus we shift, with Travis saying, "All this money on the table," as we see him once again acknowledging that he has money, and as we've seen his behavior throughout the album, we assume that he's just going to use it on stupid things again. But then he says, "We don't want no relations. We don't want no conversations." As Travis is saying how he's not going to use this money on stupid things, and then doubles down on it and says, and this is one of the biggest moments in the album because Travis is starting to supply his dream and he's beginning to lose his love for Maria. And because he's beginning to understand that the love was always surrounded around the drugs and was never real both ways, he's ultimately starting to mature and is starting to use his money to supply his dream rather than supplying this loophole of false love. Travis then talks about drinking, and specifically drinking when he makes it out the basement. As here Travis is really just foreshadowing some decisions that he will make in Rodeo, and foreshadowing that as he still matures in Rodeo, he will still struggle with everything he does in this album. So now Travis seems invincible. He seems like he's acknowledged everything that's wrong with his lifestyle, and he's ready to move forward. But right as soon as he hits that moment of realization, he gets a ring at the doorbell.
At my doorbell, ding, 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 let the bitch in, the bitch sing, bang out, on the couch, on the floor, in the mouth, cameras out.
So Travis seeing Maria at the door and being instantly filled with the idea of temptation once again allows him to fall back into it. And at this point, we're pretty much screaming at Travis about how arrogant can you be to not keep doing stuff like this. But through this, we allude to all humans and allude to the idea that everyone has struggled with addiction of some sorts, and breaking it can be one of the most challenging things, but at the same time, it can be also one of the most rewarding. So like pretty much all humans, Travis then falls into temptation once again and has sex with her, but this time he knows there's no love in their relationship, and he ultimately finds it to be meaningless. And as we see Travis so unsatisfied with what previously engulfed and controlled his life, we're given a sense of hope that he actually is able to quit his addictions and is actually able to keep his word on starting the revolution. And the chorus that ends the song ultimately reassures us of this idea, as is the first time in the album where Travis has done something immature, but ended the song with having the full idea of pursuing the revolution, and has ultimately chosen to let the rodeo occur over this false love. So now that Travis for the first time is not going back on his word, and he's acknowledging that the love that once controlled his life is absent, he's able to fully acknowledge that he needs to leave town. And to do that, there's one big event that has to occur, which is a giant party.
All right, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Backyard picks up a day after the events of Sloppy Toppy and Basement Freestyle. And we pick up with Travis, who's hosting a house party. And it's interesting because although his friends and the people at this party don't know this is almost a goodbye party for Travis. So, like everyone else at the party, Travis begins to heavily smoke and heavily drink too. At first it's fun and he's enjoying his time at the party, but then he realizes he did too much. And as he begins to trip out, instead of having a vision of bad things and a bad trip, he actually begins to visualize what his life could be. And he begins to visualize packed out shows and winning awards and just being great as a rapper. And this really lights a fire in Travis where he realizes what his life could be if he actually just committed to the rodeo. And he begins to see the potential that everyone else was talking about throughout the album. But then as Travis is beginning to want to pursue the revolution again, and his fire is beginning to build, he gets snapped back into reality through the sound of police sirens. And like every other party, when the police sirens sound, everyone else flees out, along with Travis, hitting curbs and swerving around, trying to escape the police. Yet as they're escaping, they realize they left one of the friends back at Travis's house. And due to Travis seeing one of his closest friends in danger, he says,
"Fuck this journey."
As when Travis sees this, he's being shocked into the idea that how is he even going to be successful as a rapper if he cannot even make it out of his town alive or free from legal trouble. And this, along with trying to escape from the cops, brings Travis to a sense of panic and worry. Yet once Travis and his friends escape the cops, they return home and find the missing friend there, which then eases Travis's stress and allows Travis to kind of have a sense of hope in the revolution again, and allows for that fire to rebuild, as him and his friends escaping legal trouble and barely making it out alive allows for him to believe that anything is possible, which then leads him to go on a ride.
We wake up when the sun goes down. Neighbor says the smell's too loud. Riding in my old school thing. Shotgun with my old school babe. So wake me when the sun goes down. Tonight's my last night in town. I pledge to a flag so brave. No matter where time, skies are gray. Ooh, around this time.
So we open up with Travis, who was just taking drugs and is now on a nighttime ride. And we see in the lyrics how he's almost reminiscing on everything that happened in not only this album, but also his entire life so far. And as we see Travis reminiscing, we see how he states that this is his last night in town, meaning that this is the last night before the rodeo begins. And the time of day symbol here is very, very important because, like Travis keeps stating, the skies around him are gray. And as we analyzed before, we know that the light and darkness symbol, or white and black, represents day and night. And not just day and night, but it represents Travis pursuing the rodeo or staying in his current lifestyle. And because Travis keeps telling us the skies are gray, and he's kind of painting this picture in our minds, as well as he's reminiscing, we see how this car ride is almost like a standstill to Travis. And although he knows that the rodeo is destined to come, and he knows that this is his last night in town, he's reminiscing on what will soon be his past life, and taking a moment to just appreciate everything he once had. He's not only reminiscing on his past life, but he's embracing the rodeo. And for the first time in the album, he's molding the two ideas. And Travis's first verse does this really well, as he says things like, might have robbed you blind, yet also says he's not going to pursue college like his parents want him to. And Travis seeming to mold these two ideas again allows for him to really provide that symbol of the time of day and how night is being molded with day. And in turn, Travis is finding peace with not only pursuing the rodeo, but also leaving his hometown. Travis's last verse then happens, and this is the most important verse of not only this song, but the entire album, as Travis says,
might be the last time I trip. I know I said the shit last time, but damn, I never had a trip like this.
Travis acknowledging that he's gone back and forth throughout the album, and all the times he's gone immaturity, shows he's really maturing, and that the trip right now that's happening to him is ultimately changing his life, and reassuring us that now he's giving up his old lifestyle. And one crucial thing ultimately sets this idea in stone, which is when Travis says,
got dumb years doing dumb shit, locked up in the car, had to put a gun quick, killer tatted on his face, linked to his conscience, night stuck in the cell, know he feeling nauseous. So good, it was so cold, another lost kid, Mo City, so
Travis seeing his friend being locked up in prison for life just because he did stupid things allows for Travis to feel a sense of shock and realization that if he doesn't change his lifestyle, he will just be another lost kid in Mo City. And because this idea scares Travis so much, it makes him question his lifestyle. It leads him to choose the revolution over his life, and ultimately begins the
yeah, I like that, yeah, kids sing. Louder, little louder. Yeah, yeah. Alright, I watch her take too many martinis. She slipped straight out bikini. She let me grand slam outside the Denny's. How we gon' get Oscar proud if they pay us pennies? I'ma need my dollars now, stack it till they end me. You feel me? The kids, they need that. I get that feedback, sit back, relax. I'm on that relapse. Your ass gon' die if you blow my overdose and just was beating in my Lotus. All that loud talk, like your dope, we never noticed. You ain't feeling it, nigga, cause you sober. I'm ballin' in the game with players, you behind the coaches. Come take a trip on my layer, by the third coasting. Come floating. La-di-da-di-da-di, all the kids shout at the party. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that.